Hey everyone, welcome to JFree906 podcast. Yes, I know, right? Rocking it out. I'm loving it. Hey, we are here with Seth Bridges, of course, and our guest co-host tonight, Jimm Kjelgaard. Jim, how are you doing? Hold on, let me get rid of that. I got you over. Boink. There we go. All right, there we go. How's that? How you doing, Jim?
Doing awesome. How are you guys doing, man?
Oh man, I tell you what, I'm doing great. Seth,
I'm
long
rocking.
time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It feels like I saw you guys last night. I mean, deja vu, or
Right.
vuja day, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go Seth. Got you rocking. You had his guitar out a little bit ago. Yeah. So and you got all the musical instruments back there behind. Don't polka the horn. oh, whoa! I got to give that. There we go. All right.
Nice.
Don't polka the hornet's nest. Oh my gosh. Hey, welcome folks, and glad you're here with us tonight. We are going to be breaking down the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch season 4 episode number 7, The Return. I thought it was a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
The last two were good, but not as good as this one. And I just realized too, as we were firing things up, for some reason Facebook did not take tonight. When I hit go live, Twitch is on and YouTube is on, but Facebook errored. And it gave me an option to try it. I did. I tried it like 3 times when the music was playing. So we need to put a word out to the folks over in Facebook, if somebody could do that and let them know that it's not working, that you're going to have to come over to YouTube to watch it. I'm sorry. Jan is posting. Thank you. Because I can't make that. I can't make it happen without getting out and coming back. So sorry about that, folks that watch on Facebook. It's the first time that's happened. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I did want to do a little housekeeping. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that very much. And if you would give us a thumbs up if you like the content of our show. Yes, that is always helpful too as we go along. And if you'd like to help support the show, we have our Patreon channels, patreon.com, and it's Patreon, and it's JFree906 out there. And again, as I said last night, I really appreciate all the patrons that I have out there very much. You guys are very, very much appreciated. I really, really love it. Thank you so much. All right. So, or you can buy, one of the, hat or a mug or something like that, travel mug and all that kind of happy stuff. You got Skinwalker. I did.
There you go.
I did.
So I have to just say hello to B Jones and to to Miriam and all the awesome folks there in the chat. And I have to show you the shirt that I'm wearing today. Instead of wearing my Skinwalker Ranch t-shirt, I had to wear a shirt that one of my listeners from my radio program sent me. I don't know if you can see it. It says, "Feed me tacos and tell me that I'm pretty," or "Tell me I'm pretty." So there you go. I don't have any tacos to share with me right now because, well, let's be honest, it'd get kind of messy, wouldn't it? But
yeah,
still have the tacos. So cheers.
Cheers.
Yep. And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say nobody wants to watch me eat tacos either.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh, you are pretty. B Jones says you are pretty, Jim. There you go. See? All right.
Well, thank you, B Jones. Likewise.
All right. Yes. And, those are the folks that are over there. For those of you who are not part of the Skinwalker Ranch Insiders program, I will talk about that real quick tonight. That is a fantastic program that I love being a part of. And Seth is part of that. Jim's part of that. Many of the folks that are in our chat here watching tonight are part of the Skinwalker Ranch program. It is a paid program, but they have a 7-day free trial that you can check it out and let you get sucked right into it, like the rest of us have. But it is a lot of fun. And if you want to check that out, you can just click at the link below in the description of tonight's show. There is a link down there. You can click on that. It'll take you right out there. You can get all set up, and then you can start your 7-day free trial. Hello, Harla. And you can also and check it out and let us know what you think. We had a couple of new people that were in there today. I think it was 2 of them today, this morning, or a couple yesterday and 1 today, something like that. And we always try to say hi to everybody when they pop in there. So great program. And we will be in the Skinwalker Ranch Insiders booth. I just got that confirmed today. I will be sitting in the booth when I'm not at one of the events, which there's a lot of things going on. They're really cool. So if you want to come by and say hi, if you're at Phenomicon this year in Vernal, Utah, which I will be there, you can come by the Skinwalker Ranch Insiders booth and you'll see my smiling face sitting in there at many times during the fun. I think Seth will be popping by if he's there, and we might see a few other happy faces from folks that are around. Maybe, well, we'll keep that. All right. Headline breaks Facebook. Yes, he did. All right. And Roger, hey, oh yeah, cool. Roger, I know Roger. I met Roger there too with Jimm at Phenomicon last year. That's where I met you guys. And what a cool thing, though. It was so awesome. So so that's where I'll be hanging out if you want to come by and say hi or whatever. And I want to get a picture with each and every one of you. And this time I got to remember to write your names down, because now I go back and I flip through and I look at some of these pictures and I go, okay, what was her name?
And I will still try to save you a spot at the table up front if I could get there, Jeff.
Yes, you did that. You and Roger did that so often. They always would get the table right up front of the stage when there was a presentation, and they always saved me a spot. That was so cool.
Very cool.
And I looked over, and there was Cheryl Carter was sitting right next to us too, half the time.
Seth, you got to sit with us, man, and you got to go out. You got to go out to the taco truck with me and with me and Jeff. It's just you got to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Let's get rolling with this. So episode number 7 of season 4, The Return. And this one was really cool because we got to see the return of somebody who I've been really waiting to see on this show for a long time, that I heard about a while back, Mr. Jay Stratton. And yes, indeed, claps for him. Jay, as we know, works with Travis, and they were both on the UAP task force together. I think Jay was actually the boss, wasn't he? I think, something like that.
My understanding is Jay was the equivalent of a 2-star general or a 2-star admiral within the Pentagon. So he was not just some random guy. I mean, he was the man as far as UFOs or UAP research was concerned.
So it's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. Very big deal. He was a very big deal. I had some of the my notes on him. Let's see. So Travis's boss at the UAP task force from 2007 to 2011 created and ran the government program with Robert Bigelow investigating its Skinwalker Ranch, the chief of air and space warfare for the Defense Intelligence Agency, dealing with threats to U.S. platforms from foreign adversaries. So gave assessments to the government on Skinwalker Ranch and on UAPs, I should say. And he had, I liked what he said when he was on the show. He had to get really smart on UFOs. Yeah. So how do you do that? How do you get really smart on UFOs? You research, and that's what the guy did, I would assume, right? So, and his first time on the ranch was in 2009. He went through a little bit of his, when he got out to the ranch, of course, when they showed up out there, and there's some of the things that he went through. But when he got out to the ranch and they're all sitting around the table, the 58 table, he was going through and he was describing a little bit of some of the things that he had experienced when he was there. I mean, what do you guys make of that? I mean, some of those, right off the bat, he saw a triangle UFO or a UAP.
Well, it was, for me, it was really interesting to hear the account coming from him, because I read the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon book, and it's kind of public knowledge now that the pseudonym of Axelrod in that book is referring to Jay Stratton, and he talks in the book. It talks about that incident where him and the 3 gentlemen from the Department of Defense walked out there 11:30 at night, and they all kind of at the same time were just paralyzed by this unknown fear, and they couldn't go any further, no matter whether they wanted to or not. They just felt they couldn't go any further. So it was really interesting seeing how, just as they talk about in the episode, and we've heard so many times, that the ranch responds to people that come on the ranch differently. Each person, you know, and he definitely had a doozy of an experience for his introduction to the
and
ranch.
your point about the ranch responding differently, even when they were seeing, you know, as he's describing, he saw a triangle, other guys saw different shapes. So even when they're all seeing a sighting at the same time, it seems to be showing them different things, or they're interpreting it different.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that and you know, and they go back to, you know, he said, you know, when they talk about that, what you guys just both pointed out, the ranch responding to you, and you wonder why or how. What is that? How could that be possible? Well, you look at that kind of constructively here. How is something like that possible? Does the ranch know you by your aura that you're putting out, or is it your DNA, or is it what is it about you, or just your presence? What is it about you that the ranch would recognize? And how could the ranch do that? I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole a long way, but I mean, that's a bizarre thing? You think about that. That's a bizarre thing to say. People would look at you crazy if you said, "Oh yeah, the ranch knows you're here." Huh?
Well, yeah, and remember Travis's reaction when we met him in the very first episode of season 1, and they said, you know, when Thomas said the ranch responds differently to different people that come on the ranch, and Travis was kind of like, mm-hmm, right. And sure enough, you know, Travis got his own you know, no pun intended, his own tailored experience within his first hour or so of being physically on the ranch. So it, you know, it seems to, and I remember Caleb saying a couple of times that, you know, you have to approach the ranch with a certain degree of humility. And it seems that people that are very, if you're a person who's in a great deal of turmoil or troubled, your experience tends to be a little harsher and a little more kind of, you know, for want of a better term, scary. Whereas if you go in with more of a degree of humility, like, you know, teach me, show me, you know, what you are kind of type thing, and just not go in there with like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, bust this mystery wide open. It seems that there's definitely some kind of intelligence of some kind behind it, and what kind that is, I couldn't begin to speculate, but there definitely seems to be. That's one of the very special and unique things and characteristics about the ranch is how it responds to people, and I've always found that very fascinating.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, and Brittany mentioned. I wonder about the relatives. He mentioned talking to his family before going to the ranch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that I have a lot of respect for all these people involved in the investigation, as well as the film crew. I know they don't break the fourth wall, but anybody who goes on the ranch, I have a lot of respect for, because even with the best of intentions and with all the respect of what's there on the ranch, you can still have you know, really scary things happen to you and your loved ones. And so, you know, I took it really to heart when Jay was talking about that conversation with his family. I mean, and to me, it really impresses me that these are two guys who have seen a lot, and they're talking about Skinwalker Ranch, him and Travis saying about, you know, there's a moral imperative to figuring this out. The risks, and people who've read the book know, you know, there's some really scary experiences, and yet for both of these men, and yet they're willing to come back because they really think that this is so important for human history.
Mm-hmm.
I
actually wrote that down. I actually wrote that quote down that Travis said, moral imperative to this. I think it could be one of the most important things in human history.
Yeah, that's not a statement. Like, I'm someone that throws a lot of stuff around. These guys don't say things like that without something to back it up, in my opinion.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. Yep. So, you know, he comes out there on the ranch, and then they decide to, you know, it was kind of funny because if you look at, I always get a little chuckle about this when they were looking at, and I watched it several times. That's why I say I always get a little chuckle every time I watch it, because when they're sitting at the table and Travis and Jay know each other very well. I mean, and Travis is like, yeah, so we're going to run some experiments, but we're not going to tell you what they are. And you see Jay's face. He's kind of like,
bait.
yeah. But he said, but the reason, of course, behind that is because we don't want to taint the results. So, so we're going to just run some stuff. And so, next, what they do is they go out with a bunch of different pieces of equipment in a tote here, and they strap it onto the front of the Jeep. And they head out, and they got a little pattern, a place they're going to run, which is across the command center, down across the triangle, through the drill site, out to Homestead 2. And then they actually also run out to the south field. So they also make a trek down this way, down to the south field, and make like a T pattern across the entire ranch. That's their given pattern. And they thought about this quite a bit. Probably Eric and Thomas and Caleb and Travis, of course, set this up and figured out exactly what they wanted to do. And good for the fact that Jay trusts these guys.
Yeah.
Using them in this way. But that's exactly the thing you want to do. You want to make sure that you don't taint the results by giving up too much information ahead of time. So they do that track. They head down to Homestead 2. And I thought that this part right here, when Jay started to talk to him about the fact they were sitting on, there was a couple of different things he mentioned. One of them was they were sitting on the deck outside of the command center. And they were shining a laser light up on the Mesa, shining it at the Mesa. I don't know we don't know what kind of laser light it was. He didn't say, but they're shining it at the Mesa, and then they turn it off. And then they got a light shining from the Mesa in the same area as where they were putting the laser pointer or whatever it was, the laser pinpointer that they were showing on the Mesa. So they were getting a light shining from there coming back towards them. And I thought, that's pretty crazy. B Jones, thank you for Jeff's new t-shirt. Yeah, tacos for Jimm. All right, there you go. Thank you.
B.
That's really nice of you. Thank you. Really do appreciate that. And then, so then they take off, the three guys, and they start to walk out towards they take a ride out that way, I guess, or whatever, but they're walking down the road heading towards Homestead 2. And he said it's about 11:30 at night. And they came to a point where it was, of course, at night, the moon was up and it was casting a shadow from a tree across the road. They talked about the fact that they came to a very cold spot and a spot where they just felt they could not cross that line. And it really hearkened me back to some memories that I've had very similar. Have you guys experienced anything quite like that before, where you had a something set into you and a fear that you could not cross a particular plane?
Yep.
Yeah, me too.
It's called Newark, New Jersey.
You couldn't go to Newark, New Jersey. Oh, all right.
No, it's there's been a couple times when I've been on some adventures with Roger, and we've encountered places where you walk past something and you sense a very noticeable change in temperature, and you kind of, the hair kind of stands up on the back of your neck, and there's always these stories that you hear about how whenever there's a presence of some other kind of being or entity that we can't see, interdimensional, spiritual, demonic, whatever you want to call it, there's always that seems to be that change, that detectable change in temperature, ambient temperature in the immediate surrounding area. And I've experienced that. I can't say that I've ever experienced the heat oriented one that Travis talked about, but I've definitely experienced that myself before.
Yeah. How about you? Wow, Bethany. Wow, thank you so much. Holy cow, that's great. Thank you. Appreciate that. Seth, what do you think? I'm trying not to. I don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't want to describe it, don't feel like you have to.
Oh no, it's I've encountered shifts in the temperature. I've felt cold spots walking, doing ghost tours here in Texas. I've never felt that sort of like I can't cross a line. I have had feelings of don't go down there, but never as intense as what Jay described. I imagine Jay and the men with him do not scare easy. So it's pretty impressive that it did that. It's common with a lot of sightings too, where, you know, why didn't they film it or this or that? Well, sometimes you're frozen.
Yeah.
Anyways, so I have not personally felt that intense or strongly of one, but the temperature shifts, yes, cold spots, absolutely.
You know, and people talk about that, and then they kind of brought that up last night about, you know, hot pockets or cold pockets of air descending or something like that, a cold pocket of air descending. But, you know, if you're a motorcycle rider, you have experienced cold and heat pockets of air for sure. Driving along on a motorcycle, you go down into a little valley, and all of a sudden it's 3 degrees or whatever, 10 degrees colder in that valley than it was up on the hill. You feel it, and you feel it. This is a little different it would be that same type of feeling, but taking one step forward from that's the little freaky there, taking one step forward. And I have had that fear, and I described it once. There you go. Yeah, Miriam in her backyard. Somehow you get that feeling, and you know that, you know, and I described this happened to me not that long ago when I was in Florida, where something happened and it set in me. And I'm not a person that's worried about walking out someplace, walking down the road at night or whatever, as long as I got my, you know, I'm carrying my heat with me. But no, but you know, I'm not that. I don't.
Second Amendment.
Yeah. I'm not really too concerned about that, really. You know, I'm more concerned about maybe an animal running out in front, you know, some kind of wolf or something coming out, because I am in northern Michigan, more than I would be anything else. But having that sense of fear set into you so deeply that says, don't get out of the truck. And that's what it told me. Don't go back. Don't get out of the truck. And it's weird. I mean, when that sets into you, it's almost paralyzing feeling. And I've only experienced that one time in my whole life, and that was just recent. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, after watching some of Dave Paulides, his missing 411, I don't know if I ever want to go to another national park.
You know, right? It always seems to happen at the parks. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. We could go down there for sure. So they got out of the vehicle at that point, and they started to describe, or he did, Jay started to describe what he was seeing or feeling that particular night, or they were, and he was giving it from his point of view of what they were feeling that night. And he said it was right over there, and he was talking about the fact that they just could not cross that line. They ended up down at Homestead 2. Now, this was, he went over there, and he talked about the night vision goggles. And that's what I thought was pretty cool, that with the night vision goggles, they saw that figure that looked like it was standing on what would have been a second story of the Homestead 2, the front half of it that was constructed. But I don't know that there was ever a floor there. You know, I think they talked about that a little bit last night in Revelations, but I don't know that there was ever a floor there.
Yeah, they said there was they never, the people that were originally living in Homestead 2, they, for whatever reason, never finished the second floor. So it's always kind of been in that unfinished state. Maybe not in the same state of disrepair as it is right now. But yeah. And the other thing that I thought was interesting about what you're talking about there, Jeff, where Jay saw that figure up there in the second story of Homestead number 2.
Right.
In the Skinwalker book, it didn't go into the same degree of detail as Jay's account did on the show a couple of days ago, where Jay described it as being an actual, like a shadow figure kind of thing that he could detect a human form. Whereas in the book, it was just, if I remember correctly, it just simply stated that there was just a big solid black mass that appeared. And so it was kind of nice to get that additional perspective from Jay in that segment. I really, really enjoyed that. Found it really fascinating.
Yeah, I picked up on that too. In addition to, he also said it was looking at him, right?
Right.
That made me go, oh, snap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's lots of accounts. You know, I don't know if we necessarily want to go down the shadow people rabbit hole, but
let's do
it. and Roger knows why, and I'll tell you guys after the show. But but basically, my understanding is that people that encounter shadow figures like that, one of the things that is fairly common in those reports is being paralyzed and just feeling this overwhelming sense of fear and dread, and you're like paralyzed. And these a lot of people that experience that are fully conscious. They're not experiencing sleep paralysis
Right.
or what they used to call hagging back in the old days. Um, it seems to be a real phenomena that shadow people, when they appear to people, it just something about them. When you stare right at them, if they don't disappear, which a lot of them do whenever you make any kind of eye contact with them, allegedly, but that's one of the standard things about it, is that they do seem to generate that kind of paralyzing fear within people.
Yeah, I have seen shadow figures, for sure.
Yeah.
And what's funny is because I've seen them when I was not doing any type of paranormal investigation.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have seen one while I was, but not. I've seen a couple when I wasn't, and a full on body figure, shadow figure standing in a room. And yeah, it's one of those things. And you know what? It didn't really frighten me. I actually smiled to myself, and because I was turning
Mhm.
going into another room, and I happened to see it over there, and I was like, that was just a shadow
Yeah.
figure I just saw.
A lot of us seem to, I mean, all of us here seem to have seen a shadow person. I had a shadow hat man
Oh,
just
Seth, oh man,
for months.
Roger, if you're listening, you know why the chills just went down my spine. Okay, I'm sorry to cut you off there, Seth, but I wasn't going to say anything because it's still, I'm somebody who has never really had many actual paranormal things happen to me, but fairly recently I had an encounter with a shadow person, and it was the hat guy.
Hmm.
And I won't go into detail, but it still has me messed up because, and I imagine what I'm going through right now, trying to reconcile what my experience was, is probably very similar to what people that see UFOs and that see other extraordinary phenomena that just can't be explained. I mean, it really, truly, I've been losing sleep over this. I mean, it's truly messed me up in a lot of ways, and it's caused me a lot of grief. So Seth, definitely afterward, I want to talk to you about that,
Yeah,
because I
yeah, we
want to
can.
compare notes on that, because Roger and I are still trying to make some sense of what happened to me, because I don't even know where to begin. But the fact that you said hat man, holy crap. I mean, I don't know if you can see the hairs on my hairy,
We got the
arm
sense
or
of it really good. Yeah, but yeah.
sorry.
No, no, I'm glad you spoke up. Yeah, we can talk about it. It was I've talked about it a little bit with some insiders before, kind of my experiences. But yeah, what I was seeing was the Hat Man. And I didn't know that the Hat Man was a thing until years later. If somebody showed me a video, hey, here's a YouTube about shadow people Hat Man. And right away I was like, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not an easy thing for me to get through either.
Yeah. Yeah. And B. Jones says, how do you make eye contact with a shadow figure? Well, I think it's the feeling, and I think she knows that, but
Well,
it's the
yeah.
feeling you get that it's looking at you. But from the feeling that you're getting, I think that at least it was for me anyway.
Yeah, and for
Feeling you
me, and I don't, Jay didn't elaborate on this point, but to say making eye contact, when I say that, I didn't see this being's face. I couldn't see it. I could see him clearly standing just a short distance away from me.
Mhm.
And a lot of the things that I've heard is that these things, when you actually try to look straight at them, they kind of disappear. Um, that's not what happened in my instance. And there's a lot of other things that are involved with my particular experience, but yeah, it's I wouldn't say I was a disbeliever until it happened to me, but I can tell you, I now understand all too well when people say there's a difference between being a believer and being an experiencer.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for the first time in my life,
Yes.
I now have that, not with UFOs or UAPs, but with something else that I truly, to this day, because mine experience happened just a few weeks ago, so
Oh, wow.
it's still very
Oh,
fresh,
wow. Yeah,
fresh
that
in my
would be.
mind and fresh in my memory, and
Wow.
yeah, so so there you have it.
Okay. Yeah, we could do a whole show on that. We might have to at some point. Man, oh man.
Yeah.
So, they had this Jay, and he talked about that experience. And for those of you in the chat now, many of you have jumped up. I've been watching. Linda's been putting up your comments, and I've been reading many of them here. And a lot of people of you said yes. So if you have had that experience before, then you know what Jay was talking about. Exactly what he was talking about. When he brought that up. So, and you can relate. And so that so you might tell that to somebody and they might roll their eyes, but not from those in this room, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, that had to be taken seriously, for Jay and for his team, that he was walking with that night. So that's just creepy. I mean, it's um so what they did is they went ahead and they finished the route that they were on, and they continued to go through that, and then um, they actually talked about the fact, and we'll get to this a little bit more in depth here in a few minutes, but they actually talked about the fact that they did a controlled cruise of the same exact route, and we'll elaborate on that a little bit more in just a few minutes, because there's a lot to discuss there, and more information that was shared that was not on the show, that I want to share with you guys too. But so what they did next in the episode last night is they went ahead and they cut over to the command center, and they met with Don Mitchell. He's the fire management officer, and Don is also and I got to get my notes here for this because the man has a whole lot of very important stuff here. He's the fire management officer. Don Mitchell was also the chief, who is also the chief of the wildlife division for the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and a senior member of the Eastern Shoshone tribe.
Right.
So they bring this man out because he is an expert when it comes to things that fire and that
Mm-hmm.
sort of stuff.
Arson, wildlife. It seems like.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really impressed by him.
Right. They took him out because they wanted to get his assessment of the post that was burned that they found. Now, this thing has brought up a lot of comments and social media ever since this thing was talked about last week in the episode. It's brought out a lot of comments. A lot of people jumped in right away. Oh, it was lightning, or oh, it was burned that way before they ever used the post in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
There's a lot of ways to dispute those particular claims. And I think that he was one that was able to do some of that as well. What I thought was really, really cool. There's many things I found very interesting about Don, and also about the indigenous peoples and their beliefs in the beginning of it all. Anyway, the fact that he came out and he said he felt a pressure. How did he
A
describe
heaviness.
a heaviness?
Yeah, he
Right.
felt a heaviness.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
what they called when the cattle were on the ranch, they called them biometric sensors. Was that the
Yeah,
right
Biosensors,
term?
yeah, biosensors. Yep.
Is that not what these humans are on the ranch too?
Yes.
Pretty
Yes.
much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if he's
Yeah.
picking up on something, then yes. And you and I, Seth, and I think even Jim and I, we've talked about a little bit in the past. Um, we've talked about the fact that we used to be more in tune with nature and with the earth and with animals and with our
Yep.
surroundings than we are today. I think we've been dumbed down quite significantly over the years, and we need to get back there. I think that yes, yes, exactly, from our modern technologies. But I think in many ways, because of their culture, the indigenous folks of all around the world uh, are not. They're more in tune, where we have lost much of that. And I really respect them for that. I think that is something that I find very, very uh, interesting, but also I'm gratified, and I take what they do very seriously. And
So,
so does Caleb and Dragon. Go ahead.
so what you just touched upon, Jeff, is exactly what Seth and I were talking about in the green room
Mhm.
when you stepped away for a moment. Was just that very thing. Was how a lot of the ancient cultures and a lot of in this instance, Native Americans seem to have a connection with the land and with energies that most of us, I think, have just our senses and perceptions have become blunted to those energies and that atmosphere around us. And some people, I think, are more perceptive to some things. Like Roger. My awesome friend and co-host Roger is one of those people who's just always been very in tune with things like that. And so I'm very happy to see Caleb and the folks there at Skinwalker Ranch bringing in people like Don Mitchell,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's great to see that Jim Morse, of course, has a great
Yes.
history of working with the Native American tribes and cultures, and Tom Lewis and Candace Lindy are doing such a great job to represent the ranch and trying to bring in and get the perspectives and the insights of these elders, because what a valuable insight. And we really, I think, need to pay more closely pay attention to a lot of these legends that they have, because I think there's probably more than a shred of truth to a lot of the old stories. They just maybe simply have a different terminology that goes along with them. But I think a lot of the ancients were a lot smarter and more savvy and in tune with the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, than perhaps we give them credit for.
I agree 100%. Yeah, very well said. Thank you. And so when he said that, that he was feeling that, and then he stopped and he did the offering, and he did the meditation and the prayer there for that. And you heard Caleb and Bryant, both of them said, they were glad that he did, and they've respected that as well. And I think, you've heard, as an insider, we've heard Eric talk about some of the things that he goes through, and I'm not going to get into that because you need to be an insider to find that out. But he's talked about some of this as well on his own part. But I think it was very, very good of him. I'm glad he did that, and I think it cleaned, allowed them to continue what they were doing. If I could say it in that way. I really do. I really believe that. And Judy, I wanted to say thank you very much for that. Thank you, Judy. That was very, very kind of you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say making an offering to the land and asking the Creator for protection. It's beautiful, and I think it speaks to kind of what we were talking about earlier, where the ranch responds. The ranch knows our intention. Thomas has said time and time again, the ranch can humble you.
Got to have that humility, or else the ranch will humble you.
Yes. Very well said. And tobacco. Thank you, Kat. Tobacco is a sacred plant.
I, of course, would not offer tobacco because, I'd have to bring tacos, because something tells me that ranch would love some carne asada tacos. I mean, just a hunch, but, I'll have to test that theory someday.
Maybe. Yeah, traditional leaf offering. Yes, that's what it was. Thank you. Yeah. So tacos. Yeah. Well, there is. Did you go for the cilantro though? See, that's your leaf.
Got to have the cilantro. Yes.
Oh, there you go. See, that's not a carne asada without the cilantro. Yes, I will have to, Deanna. Thank you.
Yeah, Deanna, that brings up, because I watched this and I thought, I've never, not even in an investigation, but next time I'm just enjoying nature, I want to do something like this.
When I was in Palo Duro Canyon, when I was in Palo Duro Canyon, and I'll just say this real quick and then we'll move on. But when I was in Palo Duro Canyon, I went out there and I found a spot that was completely away from everyone. There wasn't that many people in there. Well, there was a lot, but it's a big canyon. But I went out and I found myself a spot up on a little plateau, and I went up there and I sat on it, crossed my legs, closed my eyes, and I just sat there and meditated for quite some time. And I find that so spiritually invigorating. It really does. It's very calming, but yet on the other hand, it's very awakening at the same time. And
I wish I could give credit, but there's this guy on one of the social media things, and he said, it's funny how modern people that we say oh, we're really into nature. He was like, that would be like a fish saying, I'm really into the ocean. It's so easy for us to think that we aren't part of nature.
Absolutely. I mean, it's that's one thing that I will definitely miss not having my dad around, because we always used to go for walks and hikes together. And we have some truly beautiful countryside here in the great state of Utah.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, just beautiful mountain trails, all kinds of great stuff. And every time I'm out there, I'm always just in awe. How can any of this be an accident? How can any of this just be a coincidental, confluence of events? I don't think it was all random. I think the world we live in is beautiful, and sometimes it's absolutely crucial that we take time to stop and literally smell the roses.
Smell the rose. I was just going to say, smell the roses.
And,
Exactly. You're exactly right.
So yeah, and it's just it's funny you mentioned meditation, Jeff. That's actually one thing that I'm really hoping to learn more about. And I signed up for Melissa Winterton's
Yes,
Friday morning meditation.
Yeah.
Yep,
for Omicron, because I really want to learn how to get that balance between mind and body.
yes.
And so I'm hoping to learn more about that. So yeah. And hello, Sean. Didn't get a chance to say hi to you earlier. My bandmate Sean is in the chat.
Oh,
so
cool.
Got to give a shout out to him.
Michelle's
Sean,
here too.
I have to show you that you guys all know how much I love tacos. Sean, my awesome bandmate and friend here, because I couldn't afford a real taco truck, he sent me a taco truck just for my very self. So this will
That's awesome.
This will occupy a place of honor on my my nightstand here. So thank you, Sean, for the taco truck.
There he is. That's awesome.
That's my boy right there.
Yep. All right. So, you know what? And he went over, Don, he went over to check out the, Don Mitchell. He went over to check out this post. And again, like I said, a lot of people poo-pooed this whole thing. They're like, oh, they're just filling time with this. They wasted time on it, whatever. I don't think so. Not so much. And one of the things that I looked at that he pointed out, and I'm so glad that he did, was if you notice that white line around the edges of it.
Yes.
Now, that white line, or that is the underneath the gray part. That's the part of the wood that's underneath the gray. It's almost as if somebody scraped it off in that area and scraped it down to the fresh wood that's underneath the worn wood that's on the outside. Now, is fire going to do that? I don't think so. Not like that. It's almost like it was burning from within at some point.
If I can give my kind of,
please,
show my true geek side here. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Okay. And for anybody who has watched particularly the prequel trilogies, there's the bit where they take a lightsaber and they stick it through a blast door, and it just kind of, it doesn't, and it just kind of, it's like this. I guess the only modern day analogy I could draw would be like a plasma cutter of kind of thing that doesn't apply a direct intense source of heat like a blowtorch, but it just kind of, it's almost like something passed through this wood, for want of a better term, like a lightsaber. I'm not saying
you're describing the
what
scene with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. Okay,
exactly.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. Or there's, I could think it's in the new Obi-Wan Kenobi series as well, or something like that.
Yeah, I really like that
I
scene.
digress.
No, I remember being impressed by like how they really kind of had to let it sit, and then it took a while.
Exactly. So for me, I can't even begin to speculate as to what this was, but we can clearly cross off things like lightning. It clearly was not a lightning strike.
It wasn't fire because there's no smoke, like he was saying.
No soot on the rest of it.
No accelerant of any kind, no chemical traces. And perhaps most telling is that there is no peripheral damage to any of the vegetation or even on the rest of the post, on the top or the bottom of where that burn area is. So it seems that there's something that was of some kind of an intense directed energy, focused energy of some kind, whether that was fire, who knows, but that just something like it seemed to pass right through whatever the part of that fence post that was initially there. So that's really compelling, and I was really enjoyed listening to Don's analysis of that.
Yeah, and that, like I said, that white line, and the fact somebody said there was actually somebody that I heard say that it was a post that was burned, that was actually part of a tree branch, and it got burned, and then it was used as a post later. I'm not buying that one either. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and Caleb and Thomas said it was real fresh when they first
exactly
saw it.
Yeah. And that's the whole reason why I would discount that theory.
Yep, exactly.
Did they say plasma cutter when they were discussing this, or was that Travis?
Travis, actually, I think it was an insider who recommended, hey, maybe try running an experiment where we take, a similar piece of wood and take a plasma cutter to it and see if it leaves a similar pattern or similar. And I think that's a fantastic idea. I'd love to see that kind of experiment done. So,
yep, I agree. Yeah, he was going through talking about it didn't burn from down there because there's no soot up on top.
Right.
And he went through a very good explanation, but that white line around it to me is very, very telling. All this white line all the way around this thing, that to me is very telling. So I'm so glad that they brought him out to have a look at this. That really means that a lot to have them show these sort of things. Craig, thank you so much, sir. That is really kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought he also, I thought it was really speaks a lot to the belief system of a lot of, or at least what I understand of speaking gives it power. Speaking, when they ask him what he thinks it is, he says, I don't want to speak to that, but it's what the ranch is named after.
Yes, I respected that very much. And that goes along with something else that I'm glad you brought that up, because I wanted to make that comment that goes along with something else that I thought about many times about having a tribal, if you've ever been to a powwow, and I've been to several, I love going to them and I love to watch the dance, and these dances all mean something and the music all means something. And to watch them, I always thought, man, if they could bring out the drums, the guys coming out and actually do a song or two on the ranch, I thought, would that be so cool? And I think it would be, and we may see something like that, but they have to be, you saw how Dawn reacted to not wanting to go there.
Yeah.
So you have to be very respectful of that. Maybe they don't want to go there and do that sort of thing. Maybe if it was a calming thing or not appeasing is not the word I was looking for, but you guys can help me with that. But to go there like he did with his prayer and his meditation and his offering, that sort of thing. If you're doing that with the music, I think, because I tell you what, when I go to a powwow and I listen to that music, I'm moved, man. I'm telling you what, it truly gets
music in general it's one. Yes. It's a very emotional form of media, and that's why I dedicated my life to it. Is the recording, production, and promotion of music. It's truly like, just think about it. Music is a time machine. You hear a song and instantly you remember where you were, and it instantly recalls a time and period of your life. And there are songs that can make you cry. There are songs that can, stir up great feelings of patriotism. There are songs that make you, bust out laughing. There's no other thing that perhaps we have accessible to us in this life as powerful as music. Now, obviously, I'm biased because that's what I do for a living and it's my career. But I agree with you, Jeff. I would love to see like a native drum circle or something like that brought in. Heck, I'd even love to see Jay and Travis bring their band and
that would
lay down a couple guitar licks. Heck, I'll bring my synthesizers and my Gretsch, and
Seth will grab his guitar, I'll grab mine. We'll be out there, and we'll do it. We'll do this.
So, but yeah, I think again, but it all for the same reason that you said, Jeff. It kind of still ties into that respect and that feeling, that sense of humility for the ranch and for nature and for whatever this phenomena or this intelligence might be that is so prominent out there at Skinwalker Ranch.
A concert at the ranch. Come on, it can't get.
Hey, I volunteer right now to bring my cover band to play at Phenomicon or whatever.
Oh my God!
If you guys like acid polka and bluegrass disco,
acid polka that came up last night too many times.
Polka.
Polka.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right. So, but yeah, before we go down any more rabbit holes for a moment, we are going to do a giveaway, folks. And we do have a giveaway. We've had people that have been donating things. This came out of the blue, and it wasn't something that we did to get people to come watch the show or whatever. It was something we did because people were giving us stuff. We had these things. We thought, hey, we'll give them away to people that are watching. And it turned out now people are donating things to us to give away. And Linda, we have something. Linda's going to pop up here in a moment, and I'm going to find the picture. There is Linda.
There she is.
I'm going to find the picture of it and show everybody. This is what's this thing made out of? Is it it's a coaster. You told me earlier. I can't remember now. We can't hear you. Muted. Do I have you muted or wait? Right. Unmute. There we go. Oh, you both did. Let me do it.
It's a magnet.
It's a magnet.
Oh, cool.
Okay, sorry. It's a magnet.
Yeah, it's about 3 inches square, and they're really cute. I have one on my fridge right now.
Cool. All right. Now, to be eligible to get one of these giveaways, you must join our group, which is the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, and now Beyond again. But that's what we called it a long time ago, the Beyond, and now it just fits for Skinwalker as well. You have to be a member of our group. Linda will put up the picture of what the upcoming giveaway is in a post. You must comment on that post and say yes. That's all you need to do is just say yes as a comment to the post, and you are automatically eligible or entered in to be part of the spin. And she'll spin it on her phone, and then we'll see who gets to win it. And you must be present to win here at the.
Don't comment on the event post when I share an event.
Right.
Just when I say this is a giveaway, it'll say giveaway in big letters.
And it'll have a picture of it. Yeah.
Because I can't go find everybody that comments on other posts.
No, it's got to be on that one.
That looks like make a handy coaster for like a beer or something like that.
That's what I was thinking
You
too.
could do that.
Or for my tonight's drink of choice, it's Monster Rehab Tea Lemonade. I love this stuff.
My drink of choice is Kirkland water from Costco.
Oh, what do we got there? Oh, there's Qui-Gon.
There we go.
Yes. All right. So okay. I'm going to put this thing down and bring you up so we can see so we can see the spinner. All right. So I'm going to put you in solo mode here. All right. All right, right there. Hold still right there.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I can't pronounce that name. You got to do it. Briggs?
Graham
Briggs. I haven't seen Briggs. Graham tonight. Are you here, Graham?
Graham's got to be here to win. You got to be present to win. Monster. Yuck. No, this is great stuff, man. Now, most of the monsters I don't really care for, but this one, I love it. Yeah, you got to try it.
Roger, I am not drinking Everclear.
That's impressive if you are.
Yeah, and
Everclear is illegal in Utah.
Oh, is it? Okay, yeah. So Graham, we got to find out if Graham's here. We'll give you a little bit more time to show up. We know there's a 15-second delay or something like that. So we'll find out if you are here.
Yeah.
So
well, we're not on Facebook tonight, so.
Oh, I know. That's true.
It may become an issue.
That is an issue. Yeah, I really apologize for that too. Yeah, I don't know. I have a bottle of everything.
Trying to remember where Graham is from, whether he's from Australia or
that seemed like a British or Australian spelling of his first name.
Right.
I only know that because I met one of the two guys from Air Supply one time, and I think he spelled his first name that way. Graham Russell, I think was his name.
Yep. What do you want to do? Do you want to move on and give him a chance?
We have to move on. I haven't seen him on here tonight at all.
Okay. All right. So you're going to do another spin? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I hate that for the folks that we don't get a lot over there, but yeah. Here you go. Tina Brookbaker.
Tina
Brubaker.
Are you here tonight, Tina?
She's a fairly new member, I think.
Okay.
She was here.
So if we do 3 and there's nobody wins, then I get it. So
there you go.
Right. I'll stick it in the mail to you or to Seth.
I'll take it.
I haven't sent presents to Seth yet.
Tina Brubaker, let us know if you're here, please. Okay. I don't know. Do. Back in the day when there was an adult sold in bottles called Purple Passion.
Right.
Oh, Tina's here.
Gosh, wasn't Purple Passion a drink back in the early 90s?
All right,
okay.
Tina.
Tina, if you will private message me your address, I will pop this in the mail to you. Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Cool.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it.
And Roger Stokes will send you a complimentary bottle of Everclear to put on that magnet.
Oh, all right. Oh, man.
Non-alcoholic, of course.
Non-alcoholic Everclear? That's water, right?
That's right.
All right. So now that we got that going, so congratulations, Tina. All right. So, yep. Purple Passion is a Kansas State favorite. Wow. Did not know that. All right. All right. So getting back on track here with the show. And the next point, they get in the command center the next day. Eric and Travis are meeting with Jay video conference to go over the results of the experiment performed while Jay was on the ranch. Travis tells them that the sensors were loaded onto the Jeep and they were, as he toured him around, and they were going to do a control run after Jay left the ranch and was, completely off the ranch and back home. They did the exact same trek. Now, something I wanted to point out to this, and this is something I'm going to share. I'm allowed to share little bits and pieces here and there of what we find out or what the things that we hear in. This is one of the advantages of being an insider. We find out a lot of things that didn't make the show because of the time constraints. And sometimes they will share this stuff with us. And this is one of the things that they shared with us. Now, initially, and I'll tell you what that is in just a second, but here is the controlled trek that they went around with all of the sensors in the car, or in the Jeep, I should say, that were in that box that were sitting on the hood of the Jeep. And then they had the one that showed, this is it here, a little bit closer view.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And this was the one that they did when they were in, the white is the controlled, the red is when Jay was in the vehicle with them, Jay Stratton. Now, I want you to notice how identical those two treks are.
Right.
Now, something that they pointed out to us that I wanted to share with you all about this was the fact that they were very meticulous. This part didn't make the show, but they were very meticulous about doing exactly the same route, exactly at the same moments. They stopped each point that they stopped at. They used a stopwatch even to make sure that the timing was exactly the same, because people will say, well, you did this, you were off a little bit on that or whatever, you didn't go the same. Yes, they did exactly the same route, the same number of people in the car. Even though Jay wasn't there, they added another person in the car, in the Jeep, to make sure they had 4 people sitting in there. So, I mean, they were very meticulous about making sure it was exactly the same. So they were showing this to Jay on the screen there, and everything. And they asked Jay, "What do you thought? What do you see when you first look at the red one?" And Jay said, "Well, it looks to be a bit more, what would he say, segmented or gaps." I think he was talking about the gaps in the data points, missing data points.
Yeah, and you can see that as you zoom in on it for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even from above, you kind of see the red seems not as evenly
spaced.
Yeah.
And you can see where they got out and walked around certain places. So a lot of that, like around, the homesteads and things like that. So in the command center, of course, that's the command center. But I still don't get the implication of all the findings for this experiment. Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's look at.
Okay, so on the surface, they look pretty well the same. But when you take another look at the underlying GPS data,
Yeah, Jeff, no pun intended, on the surface.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. He'll be here all week. Try the veal.
Yeah, tip your waitress. So, yeah, I mean, how many times, folks, have we seen where it shows GPS data under the ranch, underground? In some cases, the long way underground.
Right.
We've seen it a lot, haven't we?
We've seen it with the helicopter experiments. We've seen it, and now with this. I mean, it's really, it's so fascinating to see the effect that the ranch has on GPS and other kind of, geolocational devices and processes. There's really something fascinating going on there. I'd love to see more research done on that to kind of maybe figure that out. But this really, really blew my mind. And the interesting fact was that, as Eric mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, it's that the data goes as deep as 1,000 feet underground is where some of those data points seem to extend. So, really, really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and I know exactly. Yeah, Roger. I think a lot of us noticed this, and it was talked about among insiders. If you look at that, where the data is most highly concentrated underground, and you were considering who this experiment was on and who was at the ranch that day, and if the ranch was trying to send a message like, "Hey, welcome back, I see you," that red J really sticks out to me, or to a lot of us.
Yeah.
I felt like that was the ranch saying hello to Jay.
Isn't that something? That's crazy. I don't, I kind of noticed that too, but I mean, I didn't know what to make of it. I just kind of was right.
Yeah, I've seen people in the chat mention it too.
Well, let's remember, Utah is a red state after all.
Oh,
sorry.
Another, but
if that was in New York, that would be just as blue as all get out. If that was in New York, right?
So the 2 points that this happened, that it went underground. The first point where it went underground, which was right here, and I wish I had my thing. It's on the wrong screen, and I can't get it over here. My little pointer that one of the guys showed me and look at my mouse is all freaking out now. I'm being skinwalkered. My mouse is being skinwalkered. This was at the drill site. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That was at the drill site where it went underground. And then the data started working down here. This point right here was at the point where Jay said
the line.
Line on the road they couldn't cross.
And there's a line right there.
And the data just happens to swoop up and make a J. Oh, come on, guys. That's a message. That's what I think. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's really something.
And it came back up on the other side when it was clear of the area of Homestead 2 there, and then it came back up and it was all good again. I don't know what to make of that. We've seen it so many times. We've seen it with the bottles they threw down out of there. We've seen it with the helicopter, the one they put on Cameron's helo, and it was shown that the helo was way off the ranch when it never was during that whole sequence. How many times have we seen it messing up? And and I think you just mentioned it, what does the GPS work on? One of the big factors is time. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that I thought about, and I asked this question, maybe it was a dumb question to ask of them. It wasn't shown last night during the revelations. We are allowed to ask questions. They get so many, they don't get to display them all, and we don't get to ask them all of the guys. But I had asked the question: have they ever had and I'm not saying, I thought I should have thought about this a little better when I asked the question, but I was asking, have they ever thought about bringing out a GPS, somebody from one of the manufacturers of GPSs, and an expert from a manufacturer, have them come out and look at the data and give their assessment of what they think happened. I thought about that, but and I'm not saying that Eric and Travis are not experts in this already, because they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't mean to, I wasn't trying to say that they weren't, but I thought, get one of these manufacturers out here, an expert from a manufacturer, have him look at your data and have him go, or her, sorry, I don't mean to be that way, him or her, look at the data and say, what do you make of this? Have they done that? I don't know, but
I just have one recommendation. Make sure it's not the guy that designed Apple Maps, because that thing gets me lost every time I'm in DC. Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
San Antonio pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with that, because San Antonio can be very confusing, especially a lot of construction going on down there.
Yeah, a lot of construction. The downtown is not a grid system, so it doesn't make any sense. All the original roads followed the acequias, or the irrigation, from mission to mission. So that's why when you're in downtown San Antonio, it's the roads wind and make no sense.
Yeah, it was hard.
I just throwing out a strange, bizarre theory that just crossed my mind, and looking at all this and taking into consideration the similar results that were encountered with the helicopter experiments and the GPS things being dropped from the helicopter. It's almost like, unless they can get to the bottom of some kind of bug in the GPS system or something like that. It seems like, maybe there's almost like a moment, a place on the ranch where like time and space just seem to just kind of get blurry.
Right.
I'm having difficulty trying to vocalize what I'm really thinking, but it's something like, they talk about how you hear these accounts of how one dimension bleeds into another periodically, and maybe that's why some of these phenomena appear on the ranch and that kind of thing. And it kind of makes me wonder if, when Jay was out doing his circuit in the Jeep with Travis, if maybe some of that was what occurred, as if maybe there was some kind of a shift and stuff that caused those readings to be, to show up in other places like that. And I'm sure I'm just, probably talking crazy talk, but
I'm with you on that.
I find it really interesting that the way that it responds to Jay, and just all the different things that I've read about it. He's I was so excited to learn last night, and thank you, Michelle, for confirming that for me in the chat last night, that Jay is going to be appearing at Phenomicon. And
I know
I know it probably doesn't sound like this to those of you that are watching, and those of you that listen to my radio show, but I tend to be a very shy person. And when George Knapp was at the first Phenomicon, I just couldn't work up the courage to go and say hello to him. And I'm kind of feeling that way with Jay, because I've read so much about him, and I have such a tremendous respect for him, and the stuff that he's done, and the great service that he's rendered to our country in the various capacities that he's served in. I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say at Phenomicon, and just having the opportunity to listen to what he's got to say, and hopefully to work up the courage to say hello to him.
Yeah.
So
check that out.
Yeah.
Got to put my.
So Michelle, that's an interesting comment. There's a study they did, and I don't know who they is, but there is a study where dogs were being monitored, and if the owner was away, and if they've just made the thought, I'm going to head home now, the dogs reacted as if, okay, I know my owner's on the way home. They didn't even have to actually head home. They just had to think of it. So I fully believe there's a psychic connection with our pets. And
absolutely.
I'm not surprised they were barking. They're going, "What's Dad doing?"
Yeah. And now, and that's, we've heard, we talked about animals and how they have that sixth sense. And, we were talking about that earlier. And William on the ranch, has actually done many times we've heard some insider stories about William and things that he's done, which I thought was very, and I tell you what, folks, man, if you love this show and you haven't checked out Being an Insider, we get so much information that the normal public doesn't get. And William, hearing about William the dog and things that he's done is one of them.
It's seriously one of the best investments I've ever made, being a Skinwalker Ranch insider. I mean, if you really truly have an interest and a passion for all the stuff that the show talks about, there's nothing else like it before or since to give you this kind of access to the research that's going on there. And the fact that, you go onto the Discord server, which I'm still terrified of using, by the way. It's the team members are there. The moderators are awesome. I think Michelle's even a moderator. It's just such a great environment. And I've gotten to know so many great people as part of this insider group, people like Miriam and you, Jeff, and you, Seth. I mean, you guys are just awesome. And it's just great to have something like that for us all to come together over a common shared interest that really is on the frontier, cutting edge of science that could be solving one of the greatest mysteries of all time, and what an exciting thing to be able to have that opportunity and that privilege to be a part of something like that. So
part of it,
that's my cheerleading bit there. So I'll
Shannon said that in one of the intros that I use once in a while. Shannon actually said that. She goes, "It's much more than being a fan of the show when you're an insider, because you're part of the investigation." Eric brings you right into it. He really does.
Yeah.
They all do, but Eric especially. Yeah. So, I don't know, Linda. She says, "Where's your pointer?" And my pointer got skinwalkered. It's not working. So I don't know. I can't. My regular mouse pointer is, but look at that. I mean, it's weird. But the one I had up there, that new one, is not working. So
it's great to see William getting some love, because I have a soft spot for black labs. I love black labs. My father and my sister have a black lab, and we love him to death. And he's one of the family, and so I'll always have a special place in my heart for black labs. So William's awesome.
Yeah, he is. All right. So the next point here, and I tell you, that was really good. And I hope we see Jay on the ranch again. I think that
yes,
he stirs up something out there and all that, and I want to see him come back. So hopefully in future episodes, maybe stay tuned. I don't know. We'll see if he's going to be back on the ranch. I certainly hope so. Because that's I want to see more of that. Anyway, because you guys they're poking the hornet's nest all the time, right? So what better way to do than get somebody that affects it in such a way? So
right, I agree, Vesta.
Spoiled Insiders Discord, Jeff show. I tell you that. And I have a Discord channel too that we hang out in there quite a bit and talk about stuff, but
I can never catch you in your Discord channel, Jeff.
Really?
Yeah, you're an early morning guy, and me, us musicians, we're
you're late. I'm in bed by 11, so yeah. Oh, look at that. Yeah, several more. All right, good deal. I like to hear that. All right. So let's move along, because I got a point here. I got a thing coming up, guys. You know what happened at the end of the episode with the orb, and I got something I really want to show you guys about the orb that I was playing with earlier tonight. So let's get to that, because we might spend some time there a little bit. But they went back out to the drill site. This is where they did the drilling underneath the mesa, of course. On this side, on the Mesa side of the road in the canal, and they were drilling into it. They came up against that hard object, whatever it was, and they drilled against it for 30 minutes with 8,000 pounds of pressure, trying to push through it, trying to get it to do something. They got nowhere. They backed it off, and the drill head was perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with it. Didn't build up any heat, didn't build up any friction, didn't tear it up in any way, shape, or form. What in the heck does that? I mean, they were baffled about, you put up that thing with 8,000 pounds of pressure pushing on it like that for 30 minutes. There's got to be some damage, something. the teeth worn off, something.
It's friction. There was no heat from that friction that should have been generated by going through all of that sandstone and whatever else the rock composition is there in the mesa. So the fact that it came out in the condition that it did,
Force field,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you've heard Travis. Well, Eric said it too, but Travis has been very adamant about this. There is something in that mesa, and we need to find out what it is. No, Heavenly Mag, we're not going to Heaven Mage. We're not going to dynamite the mesa. They are not going to do that. They've been very adamant about that.
Fun as that may be, probably not a good idea.
Yeah, not a good idea. But I thought, here's a picture of them guys. They were out there discussing. Now, what they are going to do, and that's why we were talking about going up on top of the mesa and coming down on it. So they're going to get a portable drill rig of some sort, and it's not that easy to do, as you heard Thomas say. Thomas is the one that is your heavy equipment man, and he said that, getting it up there, first of all, is going to be a feat in itself, and then being able to drill straight down into the mesa, and they want to drill down at the same point that they were up against that hard object. So that's what they're going to attempt to do. We'll see that in future episodes here coming up. I was thinking right away, if you're a Curse of Oak Island fan, get Vanessa and Rock Equipment Company out there with the caissons, and let's put a caisson down that bad boy.
We go.
Of course, if you can't get a portable drill rig up there, you're not going to get up that crane and the whole oscillator and all that stuff. But anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, one of the things I was just going to bring up, and maybe this is part of what they were teasing for this episode this next week. I've asked Travis about this in the past, and he said that they were looking into it. But there is a technology that the Department of Defense has had for, I want to say, at least 15 or 20 years, that they used back in the days when they were hunting bin Laden over in Afghanistan. That is satellite. It's a satellite-based imaging that they can actually, see down through. Not like, I don't know if X-rays is accurate, but they can actually do a satellite imaging of like mountains and stuff, and find like passageways, voids and things like that. And I'm told they can also even tune them to adjust a frequency to pick up, certain metallic trace elements and things like that with the imaging as well. And it'd be really cool because apparently they can like actually see down to like really deep depths within mountains and solid rock and things like that. So I asked Travis about this, and he knew what I was talking about, the technology, and he said that was something that years, and this was of course back during the first year of Phenomicon, and he said that was something that they were looking into, but the pandemic had just hit, and then so they were he said that they were not sure about launch schedules and things like that, but apparently that was something that they were thinking of, and that would seem to be a little less invasive, but maybe a lot more expensive. So I don't know if that's even an option that's on the table, but I really like I did like the option that Thomas was talking about with this, of going to the top of the mesa with like a portable, for want of a better word, a portable drilling rig of some kind to go down and get right there on the spot where they were hitting that immovable object, and hopefully get a better view of it, stick a camera down it,
something
something to get
sonar,
some clarity.
Yep.
So
absolutely, I agree.
All over that.
Yep. And Rock Equipment Company in Vanessa is not that far away. They're in Arizona. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So and she would have a good way of figuring out how to do this, use the Chinooks or something to bring up and set it down up there. I don't know. Anyway, I digress on that, of course, but I just love Vanessa and Rock Equipment Company. I think they're awesome. And that's what they do. You know what else I thought too is, well, they got these rocks out here. They're creating a little Stonehenge over here. If you notice, they got these rocks stacked across. They really need to create something interesting over here. I thought, with the rocks that are all piled up over here, what they got with the crane. I think they should work on that. Make Fred Flintstone's house or something. I don't know. Anyway, I thought again, I digress. All right. So, we'll see in future episodes. We're going to get to see what they do about all of that, for sure. Okay. The next part, and this is one last thing I wanted to say on that Mesa. Eric pointed out there was 3 things that confirmed to them that was something going on there. The team wanted to know the type of hard object that was in the Mesa, did not produce any friction, and did not cause damage to it at all, and caused the change in the RF spectrum analyzer.
Yeah.
So 3 things when they were up. Remember when they were pushing against it, it would cause the signal to just like be super, sideband or something coming up with all these sidebands coming up. They
Right.
backed off and it went away. They pushed up against and it all came back. I mean, that's
I wonder
crazy.
what the natural explanation could possibly be to account for all of those things, not just 1 or 2, but all of them, including the RF spectrum.
All right. Folks, that they had these cameras they put out in the South Field. And they put out these 2 trail cams. They kind of looked to me like they were the Cabela's trail cams that they put out there. They do make some that are higher resolution, but that's okay. These are pretty cool. It needed to get eyes in this area. So Caleb goes out and he gathers up. They have the little memory cards that go in them. I've got one myself, and you got the little memory card in it. And they're activated by movement. And when movement happens, you set a timer inside about how long will it record after it is activated by movement. So then it has a certain time period that, a minute or whatever, it will record after that. And then it shuts down again and waits for movement once again. And then it goes off again. And they do work at night and in the daytime. So you don't have to worry about that. So they had these cameras put up and they went out and they collected the cards in them, brought them back to the guard shack. And then they sat down and they took a look at them. Now, you all know what they found. We all saw that. And I was on the edge of my seat, honestly, when I saw it. And this was kind of a close up here. This is without it showing up. There's another shot that they were looking at. It's not there in the picture. And then there it is. Now, we talked about this a little bit last week when we saw this little shown in the preview. We kind of jumped all over this thing and we're trying to take a look at it. And a couple of things that popped out to me, and I'll let you guys kind of give your thoughts on this as well. One of the things that I thought initially, I was thinking that this thing was back at the tree line. It seemed to me like it's something that appeared at the tree line and then just simply disappeared. It was there for 1 frame of that camera. And I don't know if that's a 24 frame per second or what, I don't know how many, but I thought it was back at the tree line and I don't think so now. And I'll get to that in a minute. What do you guys think of this thing?
Go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say that it looks to me like that might be out there in the clearing, in the opening, in the open there, not just from the perspective that's there from the camera. It's up against the tree line, but I'm not so sure that's the case. I mean, we don't know because we don't have that other perspective of the other cameras because it only showed up on the one camera. So that should also give us an indication of how quickly this object was moving. So yeah, I tend to agree with you on that, Jeff.
Yeah, my impression was the same as yours, Jeff. I thought it was real back far by the tree line on the ground. Now I'm not so sure. I also B. Jones had asked what could have activated the camera, because if the orb activated the camera wouldn't have been fast enough to catch it, right? So something had to have activated it before the orb. Was this intentional? Was the orb taking a selfie for Caleb? Or maybe. I'm calling it an orb. I don't know what it is. It might might be a nuts and bolts metallic sphere. I don't know.
Yeah. So
but there's more to than just the sphere.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of, go ahead. What?
Yeah. You can kind of see when you look at it, it's like on the lower right-hand portion of that object, there seems to be something else to it. And that black center of it. And then I don't know if that little bit there that's off to the right there is actually part of the object, or if that's just part of the vegetation that we see there in the background. But it appears that my guess is it's got to be good sized. I mean, you can't really tell again because of the perspective, but I think that's probably a lot bigger than say a softball or or even a volleyball or a basketball. I mean, that thing looks like it's pretty, not humongous, but it's definitely bigger than I think the perspective shows on the camera.
And it's got more than that, just that white spot. There's the 3 black dots, the 2 black dots above it, and then the one in the center.
Oh, I didn't even see. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm just now noticing that.
Yeah,
I'm sure
you got this one here. You got this one here, the Mickey Mouse ears, I was calling them, and the nose.
Yeah, I don't think those were in the other frames.
It's a giant metallic panda.
Yes. With a tail.
A friendly panda.
So, and it almost looks in this picture to me, and we kind of talked about this in the pre-show, that it's in a box. Does it not look to you like it's in a box? Now, I'm looking at the pixel degradation of it as I zoom in, and the pixel degradation is showing me a box around it. Now, I don't know if you folks can see that from your perspectives. Now my mouse is getting skinwalkered again.
I can see it.
I'll try to get that to stop doing it. There we go. But there appears to me to be a box around it. Now,
Vesta May, you're awesome. I just had to laugh at Vesta May's remark.
What did you say? She laughing at
a little pit stop for an alien.
Little pit stop.
Oh yeah, little people, a quick one.
A very small bladder.
Just dump the tanks real quick.
So either that or it's the biggest kidney stone I've ever seen.
Ooh. So what did you guys say about the box? What were we talking about that little box?
Yeah, Seth, you and I were talking earlier. I don't remember if that was in the green room or when we first came on here, but we were talking about, who was it? Ryan Sprague, who was the Navy pilot that witnessed the incidents on the East Coast. I think, and he had talked about how what he had seen seemed to be spheres, but were inside like a cube, like a transparent kind of cube type thing. And I've heard some other accounts from Navy pilots and other people that have had, up close, sightings of these things that have reported kind of the same thing. So maybe that's what we're seeing here. And we also, I mean, if you want to put another spin on this, Jeff, there appears to be evidence of some kind of object that appears to be able to hide itself from our visible, wavelength of light, cloaking, for want of a better term. Maybe there is some kind of an invisible energy field around this thing. And maybe when it has to make a quick maneuver or something like that, maybe, kind of like when I've referenced it before. Again, you're going to see my nerd side coming through, but like, in Star Trek lore, when the Klingons are cloaked and they have to fire their photon torpedoes or whatever it is, they have to temporarily decloak because of the usage of the energy. So maybe there's something like that. Maybe there is some kind of an invisible field that these things are around. Ryan Graves. Thank you, Michelle. Ryan Graves, that's who it was. Sorry.
He has a great podcast.
UFO Twitter's got too many Ryans. Not that I hang out on UFO Twitter, mind you, but no, it's that's one thing that I've been thinking of since you and I had that conversation, Seth.
Yeah, that's that thing right there. And I know some people say they can't see the box. I wish I could help you with that. And but like I said, when I really zoom in on this, I see a box around it. Here's one edge is right here, another edge is over here, and then on top it's right here. It's there's definitely a box around this thing. And we talked a little bit about the fact that if something is to be able to move as quickly as these appear to do, like the one that I happened to spot from the Insider program, I spotted one that was actually, it's documented on the spreadsheet, that was moving so fast it was gone in a moment. I mean, it just flew through the frame. For human beings to be able to travel that fast, you're going to get squished. and you're not gonna be able to handle the G forces of moving that quickly. So is there some sort of, and here I go with Star Trek, inertia dampening field around
Yeah.
it that prevents that from happening so that you can move. You're not physically moving, and you're inside of a, I don't know, box or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeff's famous sighting. Yeah, I don't know how famous it is. We might see it show up on the show because Eric asked me, he goes, "When did you see that again?" And they were filming at the time. They were kicking the hornet's nest. Maybe this is it. Oh man. Anyway, so yeah, so here's something else I wanted to show real quick too. Now, I here's why I changed on my perspective of where it was, and that's because, and I'm gonna get rid of this for a second. I'm gonna bring up the video program. I use DaVinci Resolve for my video work. And I'm going to bring that up here and I'm going to show you guys. Now, this first one's going to be very small. I have to make it full screen for you, but I wanted to show you in here first. Now, I can move this back and forth a little bit, and this was, I couldn't get a video quick enough to put this together to show you, so that's why I'm bringing up DaVinci. But here I'm going to show you. I'm going to move it a little bit, and I can make full screen too. But okay, so if you see it popping in and out right there, okay, so it's popping in and out of frame. All right. Now that I originally thought it was back in this hole right here. I thought that's where it was, and I thought it appeared and disappeared really quickly.
Right.
Thomas and Eric and Caleb and all those guys were talking about how it was moving so fast. And I thought, wait a minute, I don't see that. I don't get that. To me, it's appearing and disappearing. And they were talking about it moving so fast they only caught one frame. Now I know why they say that, because in this, now you see that little white tail that we talked about, that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now when I take it away, the ears and the nose are gone. There's a black area back there behind it, but not right there.
Yeah.
Where the Mickey Mouse ears are on top.
People are making good comments that perhaps the black dots are rotating around the sphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't that play into or perhaps play a part in the inertial dampening system you were talking about?
Well, and isn't it also interesting? You know, I'm somebody who doesn't believe in coincidences in most instances, but yeah, there you go, Jeff. But
I don't either.
But you know, we see this, which by all accounts appears to be a spherical object. It's got a reflective surface of some kind. It's either metallic or maybe white. Who knows? But then there's also these reports that have come out, of course, of the Mosul orb, and the Pentagon has announced that, you know, they're seeing these metallic spheres, these metallic orbs, all over the world, and they're still, you know, kind of clueless as to what they are and whatnot. So I think there's no coincidence that we're seeing it on the ranch as well. And it's are they connected? Is there any, you know, relation? I couldn't speculate on that, but I do find that particular parallel to be interesting. Anyway.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. It's. You read descriptions from what pilots were thinking was some Nazi defense. I know people have talked about this in our group, like where it's we've been describing these spheres, these orbs, these Christmas ornament bulbs, for decades, and it's always, oh, it must be a weapon of the Nazis. Oh, it must be a weapon of some global defense thing. We don't know. As far as we know, they've never done anything aggressive. So I don't know why we keep saying there's some weapons or part of a defense thing.
Well, it's aggression. I don't know if that's really really accurate to say. Again, drawing from the Skinwalkers at the Pentagon book, you know, and you know, there's I don't know what kind of real data there is on that, but there's accounts in there of orbs, maybe not necessarily metallic ones like this one that we're seeing, that have displayed aggressive behavior on people that are seemingly perfectly innocent people. So,
very, very good point, Jim. You're right.
And there's of course the whole, you know, red orbs versus blue orbs. I mean, that's a whole nother interesting subject, which may or may not be tied into what we're seeing in this particular instance right here. But I would agree that the Pokemon ball, perfect description.
Yeah.
That's actually what I was trying to put together. So Jenny, thank you. That was one of the terms I was trying to think of there. But so yeah, I mean, are the orbs that we see, these different colored orbs, are they anything like this? And is this anything like the ones that we've seen on the ranch that have appeared at various other times in previous episodes and previous seasons? It's all, all part of what to think of.
Yeah. And you're right, Roger. That could be it could be there in a way of bending space and time, to make it be able to move that fast or be able to appear and disappear. I don't know, but like I was saying, my perspective of where it is has completely changed now by watching this. Somebody said, is it moving right to left? That's my perception now, that it's moving. I for whatever reason, my brain wants to think that it's moving from right to left. And I guess maybe I put that in there because of the little tail that it's, I don't know. I have no idea. It could be coming at the camera, quite honestly.
I kind of, go ahead, Seth. I'll let you go first.
I was going to say my initial thought, and I still lean more towards this than movement. I think what we're seeing is something from a higher dimension coming into our dimension. Like if anybody's read Flatland, like what is two-dimensional being,
right?
How they would interpret a three-dimensional being. It's us trying to interpret some higher dimensional thing, and it's not moving. It's just coming in and out of
existence.
Our dimension.
Our existence.
Well, it's Dr. Michio Kaku gives a great analogy. Imagine what it's like for goldfish that are swimming in a pond, and all of a sudden this strange creature appears above them, and in their dimension is, we classify it as water, and for them that's their world. And all of a sudden here's this being that reaches down into their dimension and pulls them out, and all of a sudden they're confronted by this creature that they've never seen, and all of a sudden they just don't have the means to figure it out. Not that fish can ever not that fish think like that, but
right. Well, we don't know.
Still the same kind of thing. There are technically kind of different dimensions here on this planet. There's things that live in the ocean. They live in a completely different kind of world than we live in. And who's to say that there's not that? And there's the whole point of how I believe, that different dimensions can kind of bleed into each other.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier.
Temporarily. And I think that Skinwalker Ranch may be one of those places. And quite obviously, we also may have that kind of thing happening in places like Bradshaw Ranch and Sedona and Mount Wilson and Newark, New Jersey, right?
Yep. So, Newark, New Jersey. I know, right? That's a whole.
Hey, I've been to Secaucus,
Yeah. But and I've talked about that. I've talked about that on this show and different types of things, talking about and I've mentioned about how people go out and do paranormal investigations. I have done a lot of paranormal investigations, and I called them ghost investigations back then, or paranormal. I don't call them that anymore. They are kind of paranormal, but not in a ghostly or spiritual realm. I don't look at it like that anymore. I look at it as things are existing in our world around us that we cannot hear, touch, feel, or smell, or see. And every now and then, or those interdimensional places are places where the two cross over, bleed over to one another from time to time. And we are seeing the effects of that. And I think that is probably 99. I don't really believe ghosts and spirits anymore. I'm thinking it is a place where we're seeing that intertwining of different dimensional fields or dimensions, or whatever you want to call it, kind of working into each other for just a moment. And then that we're seeing the effects of that. And personally, that's the way I believe it. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I agree with you 100% on that, Jim. Now, my perspective on this, and I'm going to leave this alone, but like I said earlier, I thought it was backed by and I keep pointing over here because that's where the screen is that I got it on, that it's backed by that tree line. I don't believe that anymore. I'm thinking it's passing across this field. It's passing so fast that they caught it in just a glimpse. Now, like what you just mentioned earlier, Jim, what caused the camera to kick on to catch this thing in the first place? Don't have a clue. I did see in the one camera view there was some branches in front of the camera, some parts of a branch sticking down that were moving a little bit in the wind, and maybe that was triggering it. We don't know what triggered it, because if this thing triggered it, it never would have captured the picture. It wouldn't have been fast enough to capture the picture. So it was triggered before this got there, maybe by another one, and then caught the second one following it.
Interesting.
There's also,
I believe this thing is just on the other. You see this bush right here? I think it's just on the other side of that bush, halfway across that field. I think it's half the distance between the camera and those bushes in the background.
I also have to throw out the possibility that maybe this thing wanted to be seen.
That's what I think.
You know, because like you're saying, these are as good quality as these cameras are. They're the fact that it showed up on just one camera when there were multiple cameras concentrated in that same general area that should have picked it up. And this thing is moving at such a rate of speed that it only, exists in one frame of film. I mean, that's, I'm not a film expert, but that thing has got to be traveling at, literally blink of an eye kind of speed.
Oh, absolutely.
So the fact that
you wouldn't have seen it.
Again, it goes back to I don't believe in coincidences. So I think that maybe we have to entertain the possibility that this thing wanted to be seen, whoever or whatever it is. And I think that's something that maybe can't be overlooked, that aspect.
I agree. Yeah. So they brought it up with the guys in the command center. They all got a look at it, and everybody was amazed by this thing. And I think we're going to see this. Hopefully, we'll see this come up some more. That Eric has way better stuff than I could ever dream of having to analyze this anomaly better. And hopefully, we'll get to see it. Now, you see what's on that little screen right there. They were actually, it was either Caleb or Bryant brought up the fact that thing that they saw before that Travis had spotted, and he said it kind of looked like this thing, and he kind of put that together because he saw this, and this right here. It looked like it has that separation here in the center, and then of course this dot on the edge, and he said to him it kind of looked like that. That was his drawing of it, which in turn you put it together with that. I don't know. How close is it? It's got the dot on the side, but the two Mickey Mouse ears, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
we'll see more.
Yeah. Going back to being the Star Wars geek, that image that you showed a moment ago from the nighttime reminded me of a Jedi training remote that Luke Skywalker used for lightsaber training. So sorry, us Star Wars dorks, we always go back to Star Wars.
I love Star Wars. I am a Star Wars or Star Trek. I like them both.
Sorry, I like them both.
I do. I like them both. All right, now I did catch today, and being a Curse of Oak Island guy, and I talk about the Curse of Oak Island a lot. I had to share. I had to share this with you. It was spotted that the orb was, and this is a fun Friday thing, guys. I'm going to, I find this show very serious. I don't mean to make fun of it at all, but I'm going to have a little levity here. I think they found it, and this was spotted going across the causeway today, going across on Oak Island. There it is. They found it. They grabbed it. It's got the little black dot on it. It put it in the back of this army truck. They forgot to cover the back of it, but there it is. And they get it over to Oak Island, and lo and behold, it's Mork.
Somebody get Mick West on the line. We've solved the problem.
It's Mork. Mork is his egg. Oh, come on, right? Mork just showed up. He's on Oak Island right now. So it's solved. We know who was in it. It's Mork's egg. Or maybe one of the other Orkians that has shown up on Earth. Mork for Mork. There we go. What do you think? Okay. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there because it's just funny, right? I mean,
that's awesome. Nanu,
there it is.
nanu.
It's in the back of the. This is
Nanu, nanu.
actually this was actually spotted going across the causeway today, going over to Oak Island. I don't know if that's a decompression chamber or what that thing is.
Oh, interesting. For
But
the miners, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's got to be something like that. But it was spotted today going across the causeway to
Propane
Oak Island,
tank. That's a good
and
guess.
then Mork was spotted, getting out of it. So there you go.
I even remember the handshake. The
Yes, nanu nanu.
nanu nanu.
All right, we got next week's show. Is going to be another good one, and thank goodness we get to see our good friend Pete Kelsey back on the scene.
Yes.
Pete Kelsey brings out, of course, his wonderful tools that he has, scanning tools, and in this particular case, he finds these, and look where it is. It's right next to one of the bait pens. I think one of the observation towers right there.
Yep.
So they see these circles on the ground.
Interesting.
And they go to digging, and they find I showed them this picture because as an insider, I thought that was initially a camera, but it doesn't. I'm not so sure now. I'm not sure what that thing is. One of the toys that Eric has, one of the mini toys. I thought it was one of the fisheye cameras looking straight up, but I'm not so sure now exactly what that is. Anybody know what that is? So that was interesting. One of his, and he's got a laptop sitting on the ground down there. So yeah, whatever it is, a mini sub. Yeah, maybe. Oh, it's a precision GPS. Oh,
One of his.
Thank
And
you.
he makes those, right?
Oh my gosh, he makes everything. I mean, this guy
That's
is
so cool.
Yeah. We were sitting there watching him make stuff one night as an insider. He was actually in the lab and he was actually making some electronic components with radiation. He was taking a piece out of a metal of a smoke detector. He was taking things out of the smoke detector and he was making stuff out of it and using the guy is just something else. I mean, he really
Very cool.
And if you've never heard Eric's music, you are in for a treat because he's actually on top of everything else he does. He's also a very accomplished songwriter and musician. And
Wow.
I was excited to learn last year that he uses the same music production software that I do. So that was kind of a neat little connection to have with him.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so we saw this layer right here in the dirt that was Travis was very excited about. So we'll get to see more about this next week. So yeah, I think it's this layer right here that he was looking at. I don't know, but he got very excited about that. So that's coming up in next week's show. So we'll have to get Pete Kelsey to come back on and help us to decipher exactly what he was talking about. So, or what he was in that episode, what he was doing in that particular episode. So, yeah, really excited about that. Wow. Guys, it's been awesome. What do you think? I mean, this was a great episode. I loved it.
It was awesome. And the thing to think about is we're only halfway through the season.
Yeah.
We've got 7 more episodes coming, and from what we've been told, the really good stuff is yet to come, and the real truly reality breaking stuff is going to be coming up on the show here in just a very short time, and
it's only going to get better from here.
Like I love to say, what an exciting time to be alive, to watch all of this unfold. And again, a shameless plug for the Skinwalker Ranch Insider. I mean, it's such I can't think of a better thing to be able to while away my spare time with is to just read through, pour over some of the data that they've gotten, and just having an opportunity to meet and talk with folks like you two. I mean, Jeff, your podcast is so much fun, and it does such a tremendous service to people out there like myself that have a genuine interest in wanting to figure these things out, and learning that like I mentioned earlier, when you're an experiencer, sometimes it's hard to relate unless you've actually been one, and like we were talking about the shadow people earlier, it's good. I gain courage from listening to other people's stories and other people's accounts. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the great things
Yep.
it's one of the reasons I love Phenomicon so much, because of the environment that's there, and also the Skinwalker Ranch Insiders. There's such a great group of people, from member support all the way down to the members like you two guys. And it's really an honor and a privilege. And thank you so much, Jeff, for inviting me to be a guest. I so enjoyed
I
it.
was happy to have you. Yeah.
And talking with you, Seth, as well. I can't wait to meet you in person, Seth, and buy you some tacos. And now that I have my own taco truck, thanks to Mr. Sean Kelly, I'll hook everybody up with some tacos at Phenomicon, and
Sweet.
Hopefully we'll get to see Travis and Jay play some music.
Yeah, we got to get Roger on too. So the next time we bring you back, and we will bring you back for sure. We get Roger in here too. So Roger, Roger, I love Roger, man. Great guy. He's in the chat there with us tonight. And, Roger's got to come back with you on the next one. And we're going to have some fun talking about more of the Skinwalker Ranch. Well, before we go, one last thing, I forgot about this completely. Remember back, I think this was in season 1. Do you guys remember the head? What's in the window? Look in the window. See the head?
Yes. Okay, I do remember that.
That was a mannequin head.
Yeah.
That they had.
Does
that
it
they
have
moved
a beard?
around. Huh?
Does it have a beard?
Yes.
Yes.
It looks like Carl Crusher. Oh my gosh. Carl, I'm sorry, no offense at that. My gosh, is that Carl?
They moved this thing around from time to time, and we actually caught it during one of the shows. We were actually doing the show, and I was going through the pictures, and I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck was that? And I backed it up, and I grabbed this picture because there was a head in one of the pictures, and they moved it around as a joke every now and then. It would show up somewhere else and scare the crap out of people. The camera guys or the sound guys or the cast members would come around the corner, and there's that head. But we figured out who it was. Billy Mays. Remember Billy Mays?
But wait, there's more.
All right. I digress. But I had to show that. I just remember that head, and we figured out who he was. So, all right. Okay, we got to have a little levity, folks. You can't go through all this. If we can't laugh a little bit once in a while,
what is life without laughter, right? Absolutely. Exactly. And especially when you're dealing in the realm of the paranormal, you gotta laugh from time to time. You can't. I mean, obviously, you want to take things seriously in some circumstances, but without humor, it just wouldn't. Life just would be no fun.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, there's a time to take things very seriously, and these guys are doing a serious investigation. And as Travis said, where's my quote again? As Travis said, this could be one of the most important things in human history. And I tell you what, I respect him for that. I really do. For him to go out on a limb, that he, with his background and his knowledge and his expertise, and Jay Stratton's background and expertise, and all the guys, Brian, every single one of them, these guys every one of them is an investigator, every single one of them. And every single one of them has great input. Thomas, Caleb, all of them, Dragon, the entire team are working very hard to prove this.
Absolutely.
They're willing to go out on a limb to do this when now we're getting out of that stigma of UFOs, little green men. We're getting out of that finally. So I just
want to say, to anybody that is out there that thinks that there's any kind of fakery, or that everything is scripted on this show, I can tell you I've spent a great deal of time with guys like Caleb. I've met each and every one of the members of the Skinwalker Ranch team, and I've had that interaction with them, and I can tell you they are about as down to earth and sincere as they appear on the TV show. There is no BS about them. They are all just regular guys, regular people who happen to have one of the coolest jobs in the world.
I know, right?
And some of the things that they've had to endure, not just the strange phenomena on the ranch, but also the stuff that happens in this horrible culture that unfortunately attaches itself to this whole UFO, paranormal community, where everybody who doesn't think the same way that you do, automatically they just have to, throw you under the bus and make all kinds of horrible accusations and mock you and tease you. And again, that's all the more reason for like-minded people like you, Jeff, and you, Seth, and everybody here that's in the chat and who watches this later. It's all the more reason to find, stick together. And these guys deserve our support and our admiration, because they are truly, doing something that is of great value, I believe, for what they're doing. And, being of the New Yorker that I am, every time I hear some of the detractors going off and trying to, cast aspersions on Brandon or whoever it may be, my first reaction is I want to, give them the business and, give them, give them a good, talking to. But we just have to look above that. We have to rise above it. Whenever they go low, we've got to go high. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. But these guys are all shining examples of the character and the integrity that each one of them has. Every single member of the team.
I agree.
And thankfully, most of the insiders that I've encountered are of the same mind. They're the same kind of people. And I'm so grateful that I get to be a part of that, to not only watch it, but to be a member of the insider team.
Me too.
And to get to meet people like you, Seth, and B. Jones and Vesta May and Beth and Miriam and all these great people that I've met, through this. It's life affirming is what it is for me. It gives me hope for all the ugliness and nastiness that's going on in the world. There is something bigger out there, and we may not know what it is exactly, but I'm going to do what I can to help those people that are trying to make a difference and try to figure it out. And that's really that's how I feel. I'll shut up now.
No, everything you hit on was
very well
perfect.
said.
Yeah, and it really is what makes not just the insiders, but what you've created, Jeff, giving us a space to share these ideas and not feel crazy and throughout every episode that you have me on, I say things that are so crazy that I'm spoiled I'm spoiled with you guys, because
you're awesome, Seth. Truly, you
too,
really
Jim.
are, and you too, Jeff. I just love you to death.
Yeah, I love how everybody here can give me a different perspective that I didn't think of before. I love how respectful everybody is with their different approaches. Just like Jay was saying, him and they were all seeing these shapes, but they all saw a different shape. They didn't go at each other and go, well, you're wrong, and I feel like that's kind of what this community does. We listen to each other. Anyways, so
Michelle,
thanks, Jeff.
Michelle said it right there. If anything was faked, Jay would have nothing to do with the ranch. It would destroy his credibility to do his regular job.
I don't think Travis would either.
That's what she said. Same with Travis.
Yeah, exactly.
Very well said. I agree. 100%.
Perfectly said.
Yep. All right, folks, man, we've had a great time going through this episode. We are going to do this again next week. We're going to continue with the Beyond Skinwalker Ranch series on Thursday nights at 7:30, and we're going to continue with the Skinwalker Ranch, Secret of Skinwalker Ranch series every Friday night, just like we're doing now. I am going. We got next week. Then I'm packing up. I'm heading up to the Oak Island area
awesome.
A week from tomorrow. I'll be up there for a couple weeks, but I'm going to do my very best, because I can't miss doing this show on Thursday and Friday nights for both of them. So I'm going to do my best up there to get everything set up. Hopefully the internet and everything's going to be working well for me to do the Skinwalker Ranch shows while I'm up there. I will be going live, doing a lot of live, probably there at the Oak Island and Mahone Bay area. I don't know about it. Oak Island is off limits. Would it be great to get on the island? Oh, would it ever? But anyway, I doubt that's going to happen. I don't foresee it, but I might be really close. So we're going to be going live during that time while we're up there, or I'm up there, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. And I will be here doing the Skinwalker Ranch shows as well. So thank you very much, everybody that's been here with us tonight. Love you guys. Appreciate all the good comments and chats and questions. And Seth and Jim,
I'll be back. Am I coming back next week, Jeff, or am I coming back later some other time? Did you mention?
Yeah.
Either way, I'm good.
You got you and Cheryl Carter next week.
Oh wow, cool. Yeah. Cheryl's awesome.
Because Seth is out of town. So yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, Shannon's going to be with us for next Thursday night for Beyond Skinwalker, and then Skinwalker Ranch is Cheryl Carter and you next week. So yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot to say that. All right, folks, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Linda, thank you so much for your hard work, taking care of all the chat and all that, of course, and Jan for doing a wonderful synopsis once again.
Thank you, Jan.
Always, really appreciate you. We'll catch you next time right here on the JFree906 podcast. Good night, everybody.
Peace, love, and tacos. See ya.